Okay, hello everyone. I'm Chao Guy. Okay, in this part we'll start writing the drag and drop. When writing drag and drop, you need to understand that we have 4 drag and drop logics. 4 drag and drop logics, of course. In actual development, there may be more than these 4. First, we have drag and drop within the backpack itself, which is completely fine. What we haven't written yet is the drag and drop for equipment items, as well as drag and drop from equipment to backpack, and from backpack to equipment. And these are mainly written in the slot, mainly written in this slot. So if you drag to other places, if you don't write this drag and drop handling, it will cause that after you drag, there will be no way to respond properly T externally. Then we'll handle the other drag and drop cases last. So first, what we'll complete is that we'll complete the simplest one first. This is the mutual dragging of this equipment slot class. First, we come to our equipment slot. And our equipment slot, we originally had 3 functions, but we haven't written them yet. Let me paste them here for you. These 3 functions are about rewriting this drag event. These 3 functions, as you can see, we also have them here. So how do we handle this? We come here. We need to write them all out. This function is the most important one. It needs to be handled. The previous ones are actually the same. When we detect that dragging has started, we first call the parent class. After adjusting the negative class, we determine whether it is our right click. It is our right click. Then we will add a reply detection of dragging here. That is, only the right click has this drag function. Okay. After writing it like this. Then, during the dragging process, we need to do some display and presentation work. Actually, the logic here can be directly copied over, because the dragging detection logic during the process is the same. We will just copy the same key part here. Here, we should copy everything from this side over. Okay, this will no longer show red errors. The logic here is the same. Right at this spot, first, create the image that needs to be displayed for dragging. After it is created, then we will create a drag event here. We don't need to force it here anymore. Avoid the machine, because we have already explained the reason to you. And then here, we take this VGIT. We create this VGIT and override its image. At this point, we pass in our load information. After passing it in, we proceed to the next step. We need to hide this functionality of our own. And when the drag is completed, then we need to make a judgment. What is the class inside the slot, this drag? Now we are inside an equipment slot. So what is inside the load bar? The load bar must have something to drag, right? So first, we call the parent class function. We place the return node here. And then, first, the drag has already been completed. This import action must exist. And our own character class must also exist. Then we first check what the complex type inside this is. Here we have several if nests, layer upon layer. Okay. Let's first convert it into a chicken class, because it will definitely succeed. This way, we don't have to convert each subclass again. Then based on its slow type, we will know where it comes from. So first of all, if we have a... Let's write out this switch first. If it is undefined, then it's not easy for us to handle. Actually, we can skip writing it here. We can give it a check. That is, if this part is undefined, it proves there is a problem here. Your code has something misconfigured somewhere. We can give it a check. Okay. Then, if it's this skill panel, actually you haven't written the drag and drop functionality for the skill panel yet. So we'll just give this place a check for us as well. Okay. Next, we determine whether it is an equipment or an instance of inventory. Remember, every time you write a switch, always write the break first. Because if you don't write the break, it will cause some problems. This may cause it too. It's the C++ pointer, right? This just executes sequentially. So actually, we'll cut this part short for now. We only have these 2 types. So in this regard, we still have a problem. Okay, then let's write this first. If it is an equipment slot, then it's essentially an internal equipment swap. If it's an internal equipment swap, we can just handle it right here. we'll just handle it like this. We'll just get it and convert it to the equipment type. Then we can just exchange it directly through RPC. We don't have this RPC function code right now. We only need to pass these two from the equipment slot. The load's ID and our own ID. Here, actually change it to an in, that is, the equipment slot you passed in. It would be easier to understand. Then let's go to our character here. It should be in character. Base. We'll write it all into the base. Okay. This function should actually be placed here. And for this name, we can paste this name. It should be swag. Next, we need to create its implementation. Alright, for the implementation here, we'll paste this. It's best if we come here. When we find the swipe we wrote here, we just need to call a monster. Replace this name. Also replace the function signature. Delete this and pass this in. Okay, then we are on the server. Alright, as for this swap here, we'll do it here. In our equipment, we have written this swap. So the exchange within our equipment is fine now. Yeah. Let's save and compile it first. It should restore it. You can see there are some errors here. Let's check where exactly the errors are. Yeah, the error is... Looking at this error, it's here. It indicates a redefinition here. So we need to check. Is it really here? We have defined it before. Let's see. Let me check this error again. The reason for this error should be that we didn't write this RPC. So we need to add an RPC imputation for this reason. Because it itself might have. It already has this in the reflection file. So it finds two identical implementations. It doesn't know which one, because this is RPC. So our implementation leads to imputation. Okay, good. This is actually an internal exchange for us. Now, let's go back to our slot. At this point, if we dragged it from the equipment, then we need to... It needs to be a bit complicated to judge, because if you drag it from this backpack, it could be a potion, it could be equipment. If it's a potion, we cancel it. If it's equipment, how do we handle it? If it's equipment, we equip it, and then remove it. So let's write the comments first. If we drag from this equipment, meaning we drag the equipment over, we can equip it. Okay, how do we do it? First, let's just use a cast. Let's first cast it as this inventory slot. This cast would definitely succeed. And here we may need to include the input key. Include this input key. Then go back down here. Here, the cast will definitely succeed. And then next, we need to get the asset it points to. That is, the asset it points to, whether it is a valid and reasonable asset. Since we are on the client side, we can only judge the client's data. We are just querying, that is, querying the client's data here. Here we still need to include the header file. I just include the header file. Here we might also need to include other header files. We subscribe to it here. We might need to include this header file as well. Okay, then let's go back to where we are below. See here, this inventory here. We might also need to include it. Okay, this way, when we are local, we can query what this current actually is. If we convert it into equipment, this asset type is just an upgrade. Check if the conversion is successful. If it is not successful, it proves that it is a potion. Then we don't need to perform any operations. We only need to determine that it is not equipment. It cannot be dragged into the equipment slot. Here we are essentially going to display the items in the backpack. That drag must be completed. That is, after dragging, failure means no actual exchange occurred. Then, after you release it, just display the original one. If it is an equipment item, i.e., we need to handle the server side, RPC, processing. So, on the server side, you start this update logic. First, here we directly use our character class to execute this RPC. To swap this. Swap from the backpack to the warehouse to exchange these two IDs. And then we complete this. Okay, but this, on the server side, you still need to make further judgments here. Because your client data may have delays or be falsified. There are delays, and falsified situations. So here, internally, it still needs to determine whether it is actually this. Whether it is this equipment. Then from the backpack to the equipment slot, such an operation. And actually here, if you want to avoid delays, you can perform client-side interaction and then wait for the server to receive new updates. This thing, the function here is called the local prediction function. So the entire chain is actually client-side judgment and then client-side rendering. The client sends a request, then the server responds. Then the client logic just updates and override. Now let's write this sweep front method. Let's go back to our caterbase. I can click, it should be this method. Let's copy the function name over, go to our caterbase. Okay, this part is the same. Then we need to implement this method. Then we come here, we paste this method. So we try to write less. Okay. Then change your function signature over. And here, actually swap this part over. Okay. Alright, so now we have RPC. Then we go to the equipment component to actually implement this functionality. And because we are the server, this must be on the server. If we have a character's RPC call, then we definitely need to find all these components. First, find all the ACE class, then also find our warehouse component. After finding them, we need to go through another round of judgment. We need to determine whether this current one is, in other words, whether this exchange is legitimate on the server, because there may be weak bandwidths or latency spoofing situations. So there might be cases where the server considers it illegitimate. This kind of situation. So how do we determine if it is legitimate? Then we just need to check whether this item in the warehouse is legitimate, because everything in the equipment is definitely valid. So if it's not valid, we'll just change it directly. If we can determine this asset, we can judge it. This return should be placed here. Convert the method into an equipment. Here, we know this return is placed here. If it cannot be converted into an equipment, it means that in the current equipment slot, it is not an equipment item. So this swap is a failure. Therefore, we will ignore it. You could log something or something. Now we have already made the judgment. Now we need to perform the swap. So first, we need to prepare the info of the slots that will be affected by the swap. We get it ready. After it is ready, what do we do next? First of all, this is just preparing the raw data. Then we copy this data. This copying means we copy the new equipment that is to be equipped, as well as the new item to be placed in the backpack. We get it done. After that, we can proceed. Remove this equipment. So first we remove this equipment because this kind of swap always succeeds, because it specifies 2 slots to swap. as long as the types of the two slots are correct. So basically, removing it is fine. Then after we remove it, the wing effect here will be reclaimed. Then we add a new equipment effect. Apply a new wing like this, right? So first of all, we replace the item in this equipment slot with a new one. After replacing it, we apply a new wing effect here. Such an effect. Then we take the effect of this machine and also front, back, up and down. We handle it. After handling, once it's done, we go to this place. We directly put it into the warehouse. Replace this slot with the warehouse. Because in this warehouse, we have a method, which is to directly replace the specified slot, and after this execution is complete, we need to refresh the warehouse and equipment. Actually, for the refresh here, we need to call this method, call this equipment's assigned method, notify the UI to refresh the interface, and jump back to the client. Yes, and then because we changed this thing on our end, you can also sync it through this property to be on the safe side. We can send it one more time. This won't affect anything either. So it's actually this method. We can call it this, the call server download info method. We can also call it on this character. This method should also work. We can just call it directly here. Then we should have an inventory component here. We call the server for this component. Also swap the down info. Okay, let's compile it now. Alright, let's test it first. Now we have completed the swapping of equipment slot items. And from this storage, or this backpack, into the equipment slot, we also write. And we also have from the equipment slot to the storage. We haven't written that yet. We'll write it later. We'll write the next one later. Let's first take this lesson and test this feature after writing it. No problem. Then we'll continue writing the next part. If we write 3 things in one go, everyone might get a bit confused. We find this thing here. Then we'll pick up all these items. We finish picking them up. Then we bring up our table. We control it. Don't dare erase this. Then paying within the warehouse here should be fine, right? Then let's click to equip it. You can see, hey, swapping them is also fine, right? Hey, right, okay. Then let's click. Hey, no problem. Then drag this over. Hey, also, no problem. You can see, dragging it over, that's also fine. But if we drag it back, it definitely won't work. You see, if you drag it back, there's a problem here. You didn't drag it back. Then, in the next lesson, we'll demonstrate the logic of dragging it back. You can see that if I equip an item now, hey, it seems there's a small bug here. Let's drag it. You can see. Then we drag this in. You'll find that it cannot be swapped. It cannot be swapped. This drag is not written. So, there will be a problem with this end. Let me demonstrate again. It's a UI level flaw. Actually, you can adjust it slightly. You must ensure that your server-side data must be secure. Let's give this, then we drag this over. No problem. Over here, you can drag it however you want. It's fine. Using it is also fine. Dragging it over here to use is also fine. You see, using it over here. Okay. Basically, in the next class, we will write this for everyone again. Some other corresponding drag back functionality. Okay. Then we will also solve for everyone. The reason why, if you drag it onto this panel, it doesn't work. How we can block it. Okay, so we will stop here for this lesson.